Okay, Nick Collier here. It's a blustery, windy, but very sunny day out today. What is it? March 10th, something like that, Tuesday. And we had this interesting little project come in that's I'm going to be able to have some fun with. This guy here, he, let's bring this in a little closer. He wants me to make a die that's tapered, that each one of these holes is tapered at a different thickness of taper. So basically we're going to make three holes, different sizes, and then make a series of punches that'll fit in those holes. So we've gotten the material, and let me get a knife and cut this. We got the material. We're going to do this in A1 tool steel, and this is hot roll. So we'll get the three holes into that material there, and then the punches we'll do in this material here, which is also A1. And then he wants me to do, and this was like an afterthought, he wants me to do a whole series of little plugs to put on the end of each one of these punches. And so we're going to do a series of those just in, might even just do them in aluminum. I'm not even sure just yet. I'm going to have to talk to him a little bit more about that. Our other layout is the three holes in this piece here, and all we're looking for is a center. So I'm going to go ahead and just take my Sharpie and make some marks close to center, and we'll be able to do a fast layout there while the ink is drying on the shaft. Let's see how that's going to work. Okay, so now what I have to do is find a center for each one of these holes, and we're going to have to center those out and do some calculating. Okay, so since he's already supplied us with a fairly accurate drawing, I mean this was done on Photoshop or something like that, we're just going to go ahead and transfer our measurement over that center, and then we'll go ahead and do this center. And also this last center here. And we can get a fairly close center point there. We'll bring this steel block up to this, find our basic center between the steel block, and let's take it up to the edge here, and we'll just transfer our measurement straight up from there. I mean, why not? And we could actually do it on this side and get it more accurate. Let me turn some lights on here. Get ourselves a little bit of a scribe going. Bring this up to the center line. Scribe it. And we've got our basic measurements right there. 1, 2, 3. Then all we have to do is find center here, and that'll be fairly easy because this is 2.5 inches, so that 1.25 inches. 1, 250. There's our mark. I think we can come in with a center punch, and we'll be basically set to go. I like to kind of tap it fairly lightly first time. That way I can steer it a little bit. There it is. And once I get it right on the money, whack the hell out of it. Oops, that one's a little off. That's better. And then our last one will be right there. And that one is a little low. Better. Okay, we're there. So we've got our basic marks. We're going to go ahead and drill holes through each one of these. We'll probably just chuck it up in the lathe. Since I already have my 4-jaw chuck already on, we can just chuck it up, drill our holes, taper them at 20 degrees. I believe he wanted 10 degrees on each wall. Let's see what that says here. 10 degrees on each wall, right. So then later on we'll come back in and smooth out the surfaces and get those all cleaned up. But actually, for the right now, I'm feeling some pretty sharp edges. So I think I want to come and just hit it on the surface grinder, or not surface grinder, the sanding head, and just kind of clean up those edges and make them not so sharp so I don't cut myself. So we're going to take it over to the grinder and grind it, and you've seen me do that before, so I won't bore you. And since we're not going for real super accurate holes, what we're going to do, and hang on here, is we're going to go ahead and use our floating center to point at our piece of stock. So, and we're just going to point out the centers. And let me find my T-handle here. And we're going to go ahead and bring that down. Bring this out. And we're going to just drill that one single hole so we can just butt it right up against the chuck, and we're not going to be worried about, about accidentally hitting the chuck or anything like that. So, take that right in there. Yeah, I think we're going to have to pull the gap. Let's get down to the gap so you can see it being pulled. We'll back up just a little bit. Oops, the other way. Alright, we loosened up. And we need to get the other half loosened up. Kind of clean up our mess a little bit here. bring everything back into something that looks decent. All right. Now, we'll draw in a little closer here, and we're going to bring our carriage right up to the edge of the gap. Kind of fake it over the edge of the gap just a little bit. We're not really going to do any machine work here, and even that is not going to be enough. Okay, so these are the limits of the machine. Okay, I think we've got it figured out. It's just how these kinds of things go. You have to kind of keep dancing with it until you get something that works. Let's come in a little closer, and what I've used is the coaxial indicator arm, just the arm, in a what we're going to do here is just find a center. And it looks to me like if we just brought this back around, and a little bit this way. That looks pretty close. Just a little bit high. I'd say that's just about right. Since our carriage is sitting right at the edge of everything, we have to be very careful to, for one, leave the carriage where it's at, and we'll tighten it up. And then we can bring our backrest in, and I think we can get pretty close. But we're going to have to start with a fairly long drill bit in order to drill that first hole. Which means we're going to do maybe somewhere close to a 3/8. Ouch. Okay. Tighten ourselves up. Tighten our chuck up. Now this is, and I said this was A1 earlier, and I realize it's not. It's 4140, I believe. I'm going to have to look at the paperwork and see what I bought. I can't remember. All right, we're going to go from a 3/8 to almost a 13/16 here, and that should just get us right in where we want to go, almost to the 900 thousandths. Or is it 15/16? Huh? 15/16. We've got our boring bar in place. We've got our hole bored out to 825 thousandths. We need to go to 900. So let's take it up to 75 or so and we're good. So without too much trouble, we could take another 4 or 5 thousandths. The snap, yeah, we can slide them in, no problem. Not that one, because it's too small. Let's bring you back a little bit. Oh, we might just be about out of battery here. So, okay, so now what we're going to do is rotate our compound around till we get to 10 degrees. And there's 10 degrees. Let's see, that's going to be the right way, yes. And then we rotate our head around till it reaches that critical measurement. And in fact, it looks like it's just a little bit off still. Let's give it some extra angle here. And that should do it. And then what we have to do is take this 10 degrees all the way to that bottom edge, and just before the bottom edge, before it hits that bottom edge, we're going to stop, and then we come back and do the polish later. So we'll go ahead and cut that. And this has got to all be done by hand because, of course, we're working with the compound. But it shouldn't be a problem. So we're going to save the battery and we'll be back in a few. Okay, we've got our taper cut, and now we need to come in with the surface grinder, the interior surface grinder, and go ahead and polish that interior edge. So I'll come back in a minute and we'll do that. Okay, it's the next day, and last night we got our first hole cut and polished. And I came in with a little sandpaper afterwards and just gave it, just kind of rounded off the corners and gave it a nice finish. Now what we have to do is rotate to either one side or the other and drill our next hole and then taper that one. And so in order to do that, I think we have to take apart this whole mess and get everything kind of back in order, and I'll come back with that. So we had one more little glitch, and that is that the jaws wouldn't reach far enough out, so I had to come in and build some spacers, and basically just cut some out of a piece of 1/2 inch, or I think that's 5-inch flat bar, and set some spacers in here. So these, actually it's this one out here that kind of had to come out too far in order to get this thing to center out on my center. So now that we got it centered out, let me turn it on. Let's spin that and see what that looks like. Looks pretty good. I mean, we're not accurate within 1/2 thousandth, but this is a kind of an eyeball situation anyhow, so we're not too worried about it. So now let's take out our center and put in a drill head. Drill bit. And we're ready to drill away here. Actually, we could probably go a little faster with that small drill bit. You can see the bit is just walking just a little bit, but again, we're not working with supreme accuracy here. We're just getting some holes there. Got that part. Let's go on up to the bigger drill bit size. And I'm going to slow this down a bit. There we go. Take it on in. Okay, that's that for that. Now we'll go ahead and set up for the taper. And what was our size? 708. Well, it looks like we're going to go to the bigger one. The bigger one was 1227. Now what we're going to do is take our boring tool and run it down the center of this until we come up with 1227. And I think what I'll do is go ahead, let's just make the first run. I hope we go a little faster. We've got our taper cut, and now we'll go ahead and pull this back out, and I believe that we're almost set. Let's see what kind of measurement we got here. And we're trying to get to 2 inches, 227 thousandths. And we've got, what have we got here? Two inches, 210 thousandths. So we're almost there. Take another measurement because I measured earlier and it measured out differently. That's better. 220, 220 and a half. And if we're going to go to 27, we've got 7 thousandths to surface grind that, which is a fair amount, but still it's fine. We'll kind of slowly work our way out to the surface grind. Take off one head. the surface grinder on. Let's get this thing pulled in a little bit. How about if we pull back a little bit so we can see more of what's going on? Well, we're not going to see a whole lot of what's going on from this angle because we got that DRO sitting right in the way. Let's reposition.